All right, let's get straight into it. Think of this less as a typical explainer and more as an urgent security briefing. Because today we're talking about the rapid rollout of humanoid robots and the massive, frankly ignored, cybersecurity risks they're bringing right into our homes, our workplaces, and our critical infrastructure. The briefing starts now.
You know, that was Elon Musk talking about artificial intelligence way back in 2017. And he was talking about AI in general, right? But his words, they take on a whole new level of urgency when you give that intelligence a physical body. Because that's when a digital threat becomes a physical one.
And let's be absolutely clear about something. This is not some far-off future problem. The robot age, the stuff we've seen in movies forever, it's here. It's happening right now. Humanoid robots are being designed for mass deployment, and that window we have to address their fundamental security flaws, it's closing, and it's closing fast.
To really get a handle on the danger here, we have to completely reframe how we think about these machines. They're not just another helpful gadget. They are a totally new class of threat, a kind of Trojan horse we are literally inviting into our most sensitive spaces.
This slide really gets to the heart of it. A compromised robot just completely collapses the distance between a cyber attack and actual physical harm. Look, a hacked server, that means lost data, and that's bad. But a hacked humanoid robot? That means a mobile, tool-wielding machine that can cause a serious accident at work, shut down a hospital, or be used for direct coercion. It's a whole different ballgame.
The technical term for this is a cyber-physical system, which is just a fancy way of saying the code is the action. A bug in its software doesn't just crash an app on a screen. It can make the machine physically fall over, swing an arm unexpectedly, or walk right into a restricted area. The consequences are immediate, and they are kinetic.
And this leads to the most chilling scenario of all. Just imagine if a hostile actor, a criminal group, or even another nation-state could pull off a fleet-wide compromise. Instantly, they would have a physical presence deep inside our borders. They could turn our own robotic infrastructure into a remote-controlled occupying army.
So why are they so vulnerable in the first place? Well, it all comes down to their incredibly complex and interconnected design. It creates what security experts call an exploding attack surface, basically a massive number of entry points for an attacker.
This diagram does a great job of showing the internal complexity. As you can see, a single robot isn't just one thing. It's a stack of 7 completely different layers. Now, an attacker doesn't need to break the whole system. They just need to find a weak spot in one single layer, whether it's the physical hardware at the bottom or the social interface at the top, to potentially take control.
And that complexity just goes off the charts when you realize the robot isn't operating alone. As you can see here, it's just one small part of this massive cyber-physical ecosystem. The robot is constantly talking to cloud servers, connecting to local networks, interacting with all sorts of other devices. And every single one of those connections is another potential backdoor.
But look, this isn't just theory. We're not just spitballing here. These vulnerabilities have already been found in commercial robots that are on the market today. Just take a look at this case study. So security researchers took a hard look at a robot from a major vendor, Unitree, and what they found was not good. 4 critical failures. First, its encryption was totally broken. It used the same key for the entire fleet. Get one, you get them all. Second, it was a walking surveillance device, constantly streaming audio, video, and location data to offshore servers without anyone knowing. Third, this made it a two-way threat. Perfect for spying, sure, but also ready to be deployed as a physical weapon. And maybe the craziest part? A security AI was able to find and exploit these flaws all on its own. Now, the Unitree case is pretty alarming, right? Especially when the researchers said its security was actually better than the industry average. So that raises a really disturbing question. Are any of the other top companies doing a better job? The short answer is, we have no idea, and that is exactly the problem. This chart of the top 10 vendors shows a really troubling pattern. Look at their own disclosures. Limited, minimal, sparse. There is an industry-wide, almost total lack of transparency. The silence is deafening.
So why is this happening? Well, this lack of transparency is really enabled by a huge systemic failure at the government level. The entire industry is basically operating in a dangerous regulatory vacuum. It's like they've left the front door wide open for these insecure devices to be deployed everywhere.
In the US, for instance, the regulatory landscape is just a patchwork of giant holes. There is no comprehensive federal law for humanoid robots.
The safety standards are dangerously out of date, and there are no clear rules for who's responsible when something inevitably goes wrong.
This regulatory gap creates another really serious danger. It blurs the line between civilian and military robots. See, military robots are often hardened against attack, meaning they are designed to be really hard to shut down. But civilian robots, they must be easy for a first responder to disable in an emergency. Public safety has to be the #1 goal, period.
Okay, so we've defined the threat. Now let's talk about the solution. This final section lays out a clear, actionable defense plan to build a real foundation of security and accountability for this new technology.
The strategy is what's called a defense in depth. It's got layers. First, you force transparency with mandatory disclosures. No more hiding. Second, you actually verify their claims with independent certification. Third, you make sure they stay safe with continuous monitoring. And finally, you give it all some real teeth with actual government regulation.
And this proposal is how we put that safety into practice. It would require vendors to publish standardized cybersecurity reports before they can sell a single robot. It creates a tiered certification system, kind of like we have for airplanes, verified by outside experts. And it establishes monitoring after they're sold, so when incidents happen, they have to be reported. Look, this isn't about stopping innovation, it's about making damn sure that safety is built in from the very beginning.
So ultimately, this all brings us to a very stark choice. This technology is coming. There's no stopping it. The only real question is, what are we going to build with it? A defense plan or our own occupying army?